Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim. In the immortal words of Clint Eastwood, as the outlaw Josie Wales, are you boys gonna reach for those pistols or whistle Dixie? He pulls out two walkers. Unlike Josie Wales, where Eastwood had two pistols made by his El Paso company, props department, made of aluminum. These two are made of steel. This one is by Uberti, though it's not marked as such. It was made in 1975 by the Italian proof mark on it. And it just says, made in Italy, black powder only. But it says it in exactly the same place and with the same font. The later Ubertis, which had Uberti written down there. And this was by Army San Marcos. Again, not marked, but that's what it is. Much earlier, I'd say probably 1960s. And two things I picked up. These are based on the 1847 Colt Walker, developed by Colonel Colt and Captain Samuel Walker of the Texas, what later became the Texas Rangers. He went to Washington with Walker after designing it and convinced the War Department to give him $1,000 or to buy 1,000 of them. So he went back and he had kept track of all the equipment he had in the Patterson Company when it got sold off, when it went bankrupt. And he basically rebought it back and set it up in, I think it was Whitneyville, and started making these things. And he made 1,100. And those 100 were sold for civilian use or as presentation pieces. The 1,000 went to the Texas Rangers, who were by that time involved in the Mexican War. And I think Colonel Walker, in an unrelated skirmish down there, got himself killed. But his, was Coffee Hayes, his boss, accepted him. And they used them in the Mexican campaign, and they were made out of iron, not very strong, and a bunch of them blew up. But partially because they were shipped with a mold that had conical bullets in it. Well, he didn't, I guess, explain to the Texas boys that you don't load those with a point down, which is what they were doing, because it was much easier to seat it that way than to seat it with the flat end down. And when you shot that thing, it tended to blow up. So, and also they had I think it was a maximum charge of 60 grains, which you could put in with those conical bullets put backwards. Some say that this was the most powerful handgun made in America until the invention of the .357 Magnum. I've heard that said so many times. It may or may not be true, but it really shows that this thing was a very powerful gun. I have loaded up to 50 grains in this one and shot it once. It was a thumper. It really had kick to it, and it produced a hell of a kaboom. I wouldn't do it again. I usually shoot 40 grains in this thing, and this one will take 40 grains just fine. So, but that's still a pretty substantial load. I just love these pistols. I think they're wonderful. I've also got a Dragoon and a few other. I've got a couple of 1860 Armies, one with a regular cylinder and the other one with a I forget what it's called. It's called the McClinton or something. I forget what it's called, but it has fluted cylinders on it. Didn't last long in Colt's lineup because the flutes were, and the stops on it were cut a little too deep, and that created a weak point when it fired, and it tended to kind of blow up. But these and those are made with modern steel, and therefore are a heck of a lot stronger than the originals. But anyway, one other thing I wanted to mention. I think it was yesterday, a guy who goes by Tuco the Rat If you haven't seen his videos, he does a wonderful series of videos. He's a trick shooter and a competitor in single action army. He did a video about shooting one of his modified Colts with regular factory ammo, 158 grain arms core, 38 special, and it produced some squib loads, like 4 in a row or 3 in a row or something, and just stacked up bullets inside the gun. And it took him a week or so to get it out, and he still hasn't fired it yet because it's, he feels that he got screwed, and I agree with him. Don't buy arms core ammo. I have a box of it. I'm not going to shoot it. I'll pull the bullets out of the thing, dump the powder, and put a reasonable powder charge, probably 30-31 in it, and then put the bullets back and seat them correctly. He says they weren't even crimped in place, that he could pull them out by hand. Not good, very not good. This is factory ammo, up to spec, only arms core screwed up, and he's contacted them, and they basically haven't told him anything. They're by cold shouldering him, they're saying to pound sand. Well, he put a video out describing the thing, and I agree with him. Don't buy arms core ammo, period. It's not very good. It's relatively cheap, but you get what you pay for, it looks like. I've been reloading 38 special for 40 years, and it's, with a good solid load in it and a good bullet. I use semi-wad cutters that I cast myself, and it works fine. But and that's probably what my arms core is going to be loaded with, because I got a bunch of wad cutters, and I've got a box of 50 of arms core that I was going to shoot. I'm not about to shoot it now, and I'm not about to buy another. So if I see another 38 special box of that, no, I'll pass on it. Thing is, I carry a 38. This is a Ruger LCR in 38. It's a 5-shot. It's a 5-shot double action revolver, double action only, and it's a wonderful little pistol. It has a beautiful grip on it. It's lightweight, and it's plus P rated. So I carry it with, here's an example of the bullets that I use. But I got one of these left. This is a Glazer safety slug. Don't know if you ever heard of it. Glazers were made with pre-fragmented bullets, loaded plus P. And the Glazer, what it is I think number 6 shot. This in a bath of liquid Teflon inside a copper case, compressed together and then inserted into the case. It would be rated for the FAA for their, what do they call them? Those fellows that fly around and prevent hijackings, because it won't go through an airline skin. But if it hits a human being, it will expand and make this mess. I knew of a guy in Albuquerque who committed suicide with one. I heard about it from a cop I knew there. The cop was not a gun person and really didn't, he said it was an exploding bullet. And then when he described what happened when the guy shot his head into his head and basically blew his head completely off, I said, no, that sounds like a Glazer. And it was a Glazer safety slug. I found out later from my gun dealer I know who dealt with this cop a lot, and after the cop left, we chatted because he heard the conversation. And he said, yeah, the guy had been in that shop and had bought some Glazers from him. So, yeah, that's what it was. Anyway, wonder if you shot something like that with this. A thought. By the way, this one, at the moment, has a Taylor & Company 45 ACP cylinder on it. I got that, well, they had 45 long Colt and 45 ACP cylinders, and the 45 ACP was on discount, because I guess nobody was buying them. Well, before I saw that, I went to a thrift store I know of locally, and one of the things that over by the tool section, there was a big plastic bag full of 45 ACP brass, once fired, and it was like 500 or something, and he only wanted $10 for it. So sure, I took it. So I had this mass of 45 ACPs to use, and I thought, why don't I just load them with black powder, which I did, and works like a champ through this sucker. I even tried it in 1911. I got 2 magazines out of it before the thing was so gummed up it would not cycle. But it proved to me that at least for 14 rounds, you could get a 45 1911 to shoot black powder. So, you know, if the balloon goes up, I can make black powder. So, you know, something to think about. Anyway, besides the Tuco the Rat, I'll leave a link to the video I'm speaking of in mine. So, you know, in the description. So if you're interested, go check it out. He has a wonderful channel. He mastered what's called the 3-shot, which is you fan, and it's a way of doing it in which you fan and hold and do the trigger just right, and bump, 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 bump. You can do 3 rounds in a row out of a 1875 single action army. Another guy named AR American, excuse me, also perfected it, watching Tuco. He also perfected the flipping fire of a 1892 Winchester, or Rossi in this case, which was effectively an 1892 Winchester. Chuck Connors on the who did the Rifleman show, or John Wayne in True Grit. In both cases, you know, fill your hands with lead, you know, son of a bitch, and goes riding off to glory. But I think he did it in Shane too, and a few other movies. You know, John Wayne was a master, but so is Clint Eastwood, and he's, to my mind, The Outlaw Josie Wales is by far the most epic Western ever made. And it's just full of great one-liners. This was the best one-liner, I thought, of all the one-liners in it. And it's full of superb one-liners. Shows some great actors doing some great work. Anyway, that's about all I have to talk about. Happy trails.